Sure, if I don't see the jail up there yet. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and this is going to be the Fulton State Court expedited accusation calendar. This is a list of misdemeanor cases in which individuals were booked at the Fulton County Jail. Their cases have been newly accused, and this would be their first appearance before a judicial officer. I will advise the defendant of the accusation number, the charges of which they've been accused, as well as their right to remain, their rights and their court date, as well as their bond. So if you're a defendant so accused, please be mindful that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford one of our attorneys from the Public Defender's Office or the Conflict Defense List will represent you. So I have a couple of requests on the chat feature. I have someone is seeking a breakout with defendant Payton, Payton, position number 9. Oh, is that Miss Kim? Okay. Miss Kim is, let me see. And Miss Rockwell is looking to speak to Russell Purser. Okay, let's see. First, let's get with Payton. We don't have the male defendants yet, Miss Kim, so you're going to have to wait.
No problem, Your Honor.
And same announcement for Miss Rockwell on Mr. Purser. We don't have the Fulton County Jail online yet. So who do we have at the South Annex, please?
Position number 5, Miss Hackett.
Okay, thank you. This is position number 5, Miss Jada Hackett, accused of battery under accusation number 23 CR 001056J. Ms. Hackett, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Lynch, Ms. Gant. Okay.
No, Your Honor. Actually, I represent the cross defendant on this case. I believe the Public Defender's Office is representing Ms. Hackett.
Okay. And who's the cross defendant, male or female?
It's a male, Your Honor. It's
Okay.
Mr. Jackson. Forget the first name. It's Savakia Jackson,
All right.
if I'm not mistaken.
Deputy Francois, is Mr. Jackson in your courtroom? I don't have a
Yes,
Jackson.
Judge Law, he is. He's
The
here.
last name is Savakian, right? Number 12.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I probably
Okay, position
wrote that
12.
down.
Okay. If Mr. Savakin can come up to the chair. And that's Mr. Owenden. All right, this is Mr. Jackson Savakian in courtroom number 2. A middle initial is M. Mr. Savakian's accusation number is 23 CR 001054J. Mr. Savakian is accused of battery from a February 23rd, 2023 incident, and his co-defendant, Ms. Hackett, is located at South Annex 1. Let's begin with Ms. Hackett. Mr. Toussaint, I understand this is her first arrest. Is that correct?
First for both.
First for both. Okay. Who is the prosecutor for both these cases? Ms. Helen? Ms. Allen, is that you?
Yes, that's me, Your Honor.
All right. So give me a bond recommendation for both of them, please.
Well, first, we're going to talk about some facts on the record briefly. This is a dual arrest. You just heard that this is the first arrest for both of these individuals in Georgia.
That would be correct.
Yes. So again, I think Your Honor just mentioned this was an incident from the 23rd. So just 24 hours ago at 147 6th Street, 911 caller who's the roommate of the parties, Mrs. Hackett and Mr. Jackson, who are boyfriend and girlfriend, called and reported there was a domestic altercation that was physical and property damage. They reported the 911 caller reported they wanted both people removed from the property. On scene, police made contact with Mr. Jackson, who was laying on the bathroom floor, passed out, and I think it was assumed he was under the influence. He was shirtless and he had scratches, so obvious injuries on his back and face and legs. He said he did not want to provide a statement to police and that he was not in a physical dispute. Mrs. Hackett, however, reported that she'd picked up Mr. Jackson from the bar because he'd passed out. When they got home, she was showering him and cleaning him up, and he spit at her. She said she assaulted him in response to being spit on, and then he punched her in the mouth, put her on the bed and assaulted her. She was observed to have a swollen lip and dried blood and multiple scratches. So both people were arrested. Both people had visible injuries. The state is recommending the same on both: a $3,000 surety bond, 1 day of anger awareness, no further contact, maybe a substance abuse evaluation. I'm not sure what ADW stands for.
ADET, alcohol and drug evaluation and treatment if required. Okay.
Perhaps, yes.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yes, thank you. Let's start with Ms. Gant. You represent Ms. Hackett.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Jada Hackett is 22 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for 2 years. She does not have any family here. Ms. Hackett completed high school. She also has some college credits. She studied entertainment industry studies at Loyola University in New Orleans. She stopped because of the pandemic. At this time, Your Honor, she is unemployed. My client strongly denies the allegation. She denies being the primary aggressor. She does not have any prior criminal history. I'm requesting a signature bond in Ms. Hackett's on Ms. Hackett's behalf. She does want to continue having contact with Mr. Savakian Jackson, the complaining witness. I've been in touch with his attorney. His attorney informed me that Mr. Savakian wants contact with my client as well. And further, Your Honor, Ms. Hackett does not have the means to secure another residence. We are opposed to the ADT evaluation there. My client has no prior history, and there's nothing before the court to suggest an ongoing problem with alcohol abuse. So for these reasons, in closing, I'm requesting a signature bond, the no violent contact, and of course, we're opposed to any stay away orders and ADT. Thank you.
And Your Honor, ADT, I apologize. It wasn't ADT in my notes. It's no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. So standard bond condition.
Restriction. Okay. Mr. Lynch, what say you about young Mr. Savakian?
So I would basically request the same thing as Ms. Gant. Mr. Savakia is 21 years old. He moved to the Atlanta area from Vermont approximately a year ago. He is a performing artist. He's a singer. So he doesn't have additional employment outside of that. And I'm not sure how much support he has as far as being able to post a bond. So, and additionally, he does have no prior arrests, is my understanding. So we would ask the court to consider a signature bond in this case. As far as a stay away from the co-defendant in this case, we are asking for no violent or harassing conditions rather than a total stay away. You know, I'm not sure. I know that he stays in this apartment with a roommate and they're on the lease. And I believe that the cross defendant has been living there as well. So I'm not sure who would be going where if there was a stay away. So that's one of the reasons we're asking the court to consider no violent or harassing contact rather than a total stay away.
So your client is your client the one on the lease?
My understanding is that my client and that the person who called the police are on the lease, but that she has been staying there for some period of time. I can't confirm that. That was my understanding.
Miss Allen, can you confirm who called the police? Because I'm a little befuddled.
The
The other roommate?
Yes, the
Good one.
roommate who is not involved in this relationship and not involved in this altercation called the police, requested assistance, reported there was a physical altercation between these two people and advised that they needed help to have these people removed. So I don't imagine they'd be very excited about, although these folks want to stay together and have contact. I doubt the victim who called the police arguably would want them back. But I don't know who's on the lease. We can try to find out.
Yes, please. Ms. Gant, is your client on the lease?
No, Your Honor.
That's a problem. All right. Mr. Sabakian is on the lease. He gets a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial services. He's to have no further violent contact with Jada Hackett. He may return to the premises. I believe that was at the 147 26th Street, since he is on the lease and he's got rent obligations on that property. Now, of course, if the landlord decides to file a dispossessory action against him based upon this incident, if it's a violation of his lease, then that's something he's going to have to take up with his landlord. This is not charged as a domestic violence. Is that correct, Miss Ellen? Even though they live together?
And obviously they're in a relationship, I believe.
But y'all didn't do domestic violence, so
Okay.
it'll be difficult for me to require him to do any kind of FVIP or anger management, but I will require him to do the one-day anger awareness program.
Thank you.
No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Mr. Sabakian, given the nature of the warrant, you are from now not to consume any illegal drugs and alcohol. You may be subject to random screens by pretrial services. If you fail a screen, that could be considered a violation of your bond, and they can revoke the 3,500 signature bond and convert that to a surety bond or a cash bond. So it's going to be incumbent upon you to make sure that you comply with the conditions of the bond. No further violent contact with Jada Hackett means that you can have communication with her, but there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. If there are, you or she both may end up being back in jail with no bond.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And Mr. Lynch, this case will be further notice for the next calendar. And Mr. Sabakian, if by any chance you are evicted from the property or if you voluntarily leave the property, you will need to update the court with your new address, phone number, and email within 30 days of leaving that address.
Okay.
Understood? If you don't, and we send out notice to your old address and you don't show up, a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
You have to make sure that we always know what your current address is. Otherwise, we will have you arrested for failure to appear.
Okay.
That part he understood. Okay. All right, Miss Jada Hackett, your bond's also going to be 3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You also to have no further violent contact with Jackson Sabakian. You are going to be reporting to pretrial once a month. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms. And you're also to attend and complete a one-day anger awareness program with pretrial. Unfortunately, you are not on the lease. And since there is damage to the property as well, I am going to have you removed from the property. You're going to have to find an alternative living arrangement. I will allow you to return to the apartment one time only with a police officer to remove your personal belongings. Within 30 days of being released, you must update the court with your new address, phone number, and email. Your case is also going to be further notice. Make sure that we have your current address at all times so that you can report to court. Thank you.
Position 19, Ms. Wilson.
Okay.
Just Desiree
Miss-
Wilson.
Yeah, Miss Champion, on Jada Hackett, she has a no further violent contact with Sabakian, but she has to stay away from 147 26th Street, the entire complex in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Who was courtroom number 2 or 1? Sorry.
No, position 19.
19. Okay. Oh, and that's a cross defendant as well. Oh, no, a co-defendant, excuse me. And is position 6 around? Miss Brooke Mabry.
Your Honor, I am in the process of preparing a waiver presence for position 6.
Okay, thank you. This is 23 CR 001058E, Desiree Wilson, accused of battery from a February 23rd, 2023 incident involving one Imani Darby. And there is a co-defendant, Brooke Taylor Mabry, also accused of battery, same alleged victim from the same incident date. And Miss Gant is representing Miss Mabry, whose presence is going to be waived through her counsel. And Miss Wilson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Owen Lynch. I believe also from Miss Wilson and Miss Mabry, these are both their first arrests. Miss Mabry appears to be 20 years old or 20, or did she just turn 21? I think she turned 21 today.
Miss Mabry is 17.
Oh, 17. I'm sorry. I'm looking at a different date. Sorry. 17. She's 17 years old. Okay. And what about Miss Wilson?
I believe she's 19 years old, Your Honor.
19 years old. Okay. All right. Prosecutor is Miss Tamara Allen. Oh, Miss Anna Helena Allen. Okay. Miss Allen, go ahead and put the pertinent facts. Go ahead. I've read the warrants, but feel free to just put down the pertinent facts that are relevant to your bond recommendation.
So, Your Honor, like you just noted, this was an offense that just happened within the last 24 hours, February the 23rd. This was on Linda Lane, 2499 here in Fulton County. Police responded to a fight call, and on scene, they met with the victim, Mrs. Imani Darby. She was stumbling and visibly upset. They noticed a strong smell of alcohol coming from her person. She was eventually able to communicate and reported she'd been in a fight with the two co-defendants, Mrs. Wilson and Miss Mabry. She then charged at both of them to fight, but police subdued her and she was given a citation for disorderly conduct. A neighbor made the 911 call, so independent witness, not involved. And she reported that she observed the two co-defendants, Wilson and Mabry, beating up Darby. Darby had scratches to her knees and her hands. The information that I've been given from the victim, who you just heard about on scene, also intoxicated, reported that these two co-defendants were renting a room from Mrs. Darby's boyfriend, and they had gone out together that evening. And for some reason unknown to her, these two women assaulted her. Neighbor called 911. She is requesting no contact and expresses fear.
All right. Well, the warrant was a slightly different story, but I'll take that. Mr. Lynch, what would you like to tell me? Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Allen. What's the bond recommendation?
So if this is indeed the first arrest for this young woman, then we would ask for a $3,000 surety bond. The danger of reoffending and risk to intimidation.
Same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Lynch, you represent Miss
Wilson.
Miss Wilson. What's your take on this?
So, Your Honor, as you noted from reading the warrant, and as the prosecutor stated in her factual recitation, The alleged victim in this case attempted to attack Miss Wilson and her sister in front of the police. So she's willing to do that in front of the police. It stands to reason that her having no idea where this altercation started, there may be a little bit more to the story than that. In fact, there's a lot more to the story. Miss Wilson did secure this apartment to rent with her sister. The alleged victim's boyfriend was in the process of moving his stuff out so they could take possession of the apartment. There's an ongoing dispute, which is referenced in the warrant, about her boyfriend taking her car without permission, which is why she remained at the residence. At first, not having any issues with Miss Wilson or her sister. But eventually, my understanding is that the boyfriend returned and that there was a domestic incident wherein the alleged victim in this case was actually victimized by her boyfriend in that situation, and in a dispute about the car. And I believe that was at least the portion with the car was reported to the police. At this point, she became angry at Miss Wilson and her sister for not helping her out in that situation. And that escalated into a fight with Miss Wilson. Miss Wilson has her little sister with her. And Miss Wilson had no intention of engaging physically with the alleged victim in this case. However, someone, who was intoxicated, I don't think I need to go on. Obviously, the facts.
Yeah, I would stop right there. I would.
But
Yeah.
okay.
What's
Miss
your
Wilson's
recommendation for bond?
Your Honor, she's 19 years old. She has a GED. She works at McDonald's. She has no significant criminal history other than perhaps some traffic-related offenses. I would ask the court to consider a signature bond in this case. She doesn't have a lot of help. She has to support her siblings and her sister. She's working hard and trying to provide a safe place for her to live, and this is how it turned out. There's no.
But your assertion is that she and the co-defendant are living in a property with Romeo, right? Who is right now MIA.
No, not with the alleged victim in this case. Does not live there.
Okay.
They're renting. They were supposed to move in this day, and they were in the process of moving in. She was there because her boyfriend is the landlord. Essentially, he's renting this property to them. They've now
the
paid
victim's boyfriend. The victim's
boyfriend.
Okay, that's the part I wanted to square away. Thank you. I'm going to grant a signature bond, but I got to consider the conditions. Ms. Gant, any argument for your client, Ms. Mabry, whose appearance has been waived?
Yes, Your Honor. I am requesting a signature bond on Ms. Mabry's behalf, as this is her first arrest. Ms. Mabry is 17 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for about 6 months. Her parents are in Rome, Georgia, and I have been in contact with her mother, Felicia Johnson. I believe she is on the Zoom call. I did provide the link for her. Ms. Mabry is currently in high school. She's a senior at James Madison. She is an AB student. Her favorite subjects are social studies and history. She's also attending Georgia State through the dual enrollment program. She works 5 days a week at Popeyes from 3 to 10 p.m. So obviously she has a lot on her plate. Her mother tells me that she is a great child. She's helpful with her nieces and nephews, and that she's never been in any trouble. My client strongly denies the allegations. She stated that Miss Imani Darby, the complaining witness, was in her mind trying to kill Desiree Wilson, and that she was basically acting to stop the fight. She states that she basically was trying to pull Miss Darby off of Desiree Wilson. So for these reasons, I am requesting again a signature bond. My client does not wish to have any contact, and it is my understanding that my client does not reside at the incident location.
Does not reside.
That is my understanding, Your Honor.
So they live at, in Commons Avenue, not at this, location?
That is my understanding.
And the police report references no information whatsoever about the two co-defendants moving in that day or trying to take possession or having any rightful possession or right to possession of that property, period.
Okay. Bond is going to be set for both these young ladies at $3,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. They are both sisters, right? Same mother?
It may not be, I apologize. Are they?
Well,
think-
I can
Judge,
say, Your
apparently the
Honor,
mother is on the line, Judge. She's on the iPhone.
yes, Felicia Johnson is the mother of Brooke Mabry.
Right, I don't see whoever's the mom. Oh, there she is. Okay,
I tried to get her to change her name, but apparently she couldn't change her name on the iPhone.
all right. You have to mute your screen, Miss Johnson. Unmute your screen.
I see it. Okay.
All right, Miss Johnson, who is your daughter?
Brooke Mabry only.
All right, you would have to come down to the Fulton County Pretrial Services and co-sign her bond. She's 17 years old.
Okay.
Is she going to come back and live with you?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to make sure, and is that the Commons Avenue location?
No, ma'am. I stay in Rome, Georgia.
All right, so you need to make sure that your daughter has an updated address with the court,
Okay.
proper phone number and email. She's to have no further violent contact with, no further contact with Imani Darby. She's to stay 200 yards away from Miss Darby and stay away from the incident location. If she has any personal items at the incident location, she can go back one time only with a police officer to retrieve her personal belongings.
Okay.
Otherwise, after that, she will have to report to pretrial once a month, attend a one-day anger awareness program, and not consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or firearms. Her next court date will be sent to her address in Rome, Georgia.
Okay. Now, will all of that be on her bond with how she would have to go and report once a month?
When she is being processed through pretrial services, she will go through an orientation and they will give her all the instructions.
Okay.
And she's a college student, right?
She is. Yes, ma'am.
She's smart enough to get the instructions then.
Okay.
All right.
You waiving
if-
utility bill?
Yes, I'll waive the utility bill. Miss Johnson, you would need to have to come down to pretrial with a government issue ID, like a driver's license. All right. And if she gets arrested again for anything else, or if she violates any of the conditions of the bond, or doesn't show up to court, her $3,000 signature bond will be converted to a surety or a cash bond only.
Okay.
So
All
what's
right.
what's the mother's name?
I just heard Johnson. What's your first name, ma'am?
Felicia.
Felicia, Felicia.
PHELICIA.
Okay, got it, Mr. Tucson?
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there a parent here or a adult relative for Desiree Wilson? All right,
I
Ms.
do
Wilson.
not believe there.
Okay, Ms. Wilson is going to be the same $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Imani Darby. You have to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You have to stay away from the incident location, which I believe is 2499 Linda Lane. You may return there one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. You may have contact with Miss Mabry if you choose to do so, but you need to make sure that we have your current address, phone number, and email as soon as possible, at least within 30 days of being released. You're to attend and complete a one-day anger awareness with pretrial and not consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or firearms. Mr. Lynch, any other questions?
No, Your Honor, I mean, we certainly don't have any opposition to the stay away order from the alleged victim. However, it is my understanding that she was in the process of moving into that location So she does have all her stuff there, and so, stay away from the incident location is going to effectively evict her from that location. So we perhaps ask the court to consider not issuing the stay away order from the incident location. But if you're going to do that, we'd at least ask that she has, as you pointed out, the ability to go and retrieve her belongings.
Mr. Lynch, I understand, but the alleged factual circumstances indicates that this is not a tenuous relationship with the landlord. Somehow or another, that landlord / boyfriend / the guy in the middle is playing somewhere in this little tapestry of confusing events. So I'm not comfortable with her returning to the same property where the alleged victim has ties to the landlord.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Position 7, Mylum.
This is State versus Eric Milam. Okay, this is, I'm addressing cases now that are in courtroom 2, including Mr. Milam's, as well as the folks who are seated behind him. Good afternoon. My name is Judge Law, and this is your initial appearance before a judicial officer. As soon after you were arrested, your cases have been formally accused by the prosecutor, which is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Because it is accused, your cases are now formally with the state court. And today I will let you know what are your rights, what's your case number, what charges which you've been accused. And then we will address your criminal record history, if you have one, to decide what kind of bond you should receive, or if you've already got a bond, whether it should be amended. Please remember that during the course of this virtual recorded proceeding, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you from the Public Defender's Office or the Conflict Defenders List. So, Mr. Milam, with these rights in mind, in case number 23 CR 001060D, you've been accused of battery domestic violence from February 22nd, 2023. You've been advised, your attorney will be Ms. Kim.
Your Honor, I believe I'm representing Mr. Milan, and I think that there's a conflict. I was told I would be representing Mr. Milan and because of a conflict.
Have you spoken to him?
I have.
All right. And Ms. Kim or Ms. Gant, do you confer that this is a conflict case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Malam, you are represented by Mr. Owen Lynch and not Ms. Kim. All right. And I understand also with this matter, this is Mr. Malam's first arrest. Ms. Allen, what's your recommendation?
Your Honor, the recommendation based on the facts in this case is a $3,000 surety bond. This, like you mentioned, happened on February the 22nd at 1700 Northside Drive, Northwest, in an apartment. The victim in this case, Mr. Truitt, and the defendant actually live as neighbors, not together in the same location. They have broken up and argued. The victim reported that he'd been sleeping, and the defendant came over, knocked on the door, woke him up, and demanded that they discuss exchanging or personal belongings, basically, as a result of the breakup. This incident was literally about planters. When the victim told the defendant he was asleep and was going to maybe deal with that later, he was physically attacked by the defendant. He was observed to have a laceration over his right eye. He reported being punched in the face and the back. And he says he's got a broken pinky, but he hasn't received medical attention yet. Let's see, it appears maybe they used to live together. Now they live separately. And the defendant had recently moved next door to apartment 1401. So our victim lives in apartment 1402, Your Honor. We'd request no further contact and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and maybe a substance abuse. No, that is not correct. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Lynch?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Milan is 30 years old. He is a high school graduate. He graduated, he's been in the Atlanta area all his life. He graduated from Lassiter, and I believe that's in the Marietta area. He attended Savannah College of Art and Design, and he is now working in film in the Atlanta area. He has no criminal record, it is my understanding. At least no, the only thing he has maybe are traffic tickets, and he said he hasn't had anything like that for at least 10 years old, for at least 10 years. The prosecutor is correct. They do live 1401 and 1402.
Yep.
So we're not necessarily opposed to them not having contact, but hopefully it would, whatever you decide, would certainly allow him to continue to live in his apartment. Your Honor, we would ask you to consider signature bond in this case. He does have no previous criminal history. He does have some medical issues that I don't want to speak on the record here, but he does have some medical needs that may be difficult to be addressed correctly in jail at this time. And I'm not sure who he has on the outside to post a bond. So for that reason, we would ask you that you consider a signature bond in this case.
Okay. Is there the alleged victim or anyone here on behalf of Mr. Milan? This will be the time to unmute if you want to say something.
Your Honor, the victim is on the Zoom.
Is that Mr. Milan? Excuse me,
True.
Mr. Pruitt?
I believe so.
Miss,
I don't say thank you.
Mr. Truitt, if you, okay, did he say he's not saying anything? Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Truitt, actually, I have a question to ask of you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, you need to put on your video. I can't. If you don't mind, it's got to do with the conditions of the bond. I have to decide whether Mr. Milam, if you're comfortable with Mr. Milam returning to the adjoining property, and you need to put on your audio and your video.
I don't have access to video. I have audio.
All right, well, tell me then, how do you feel about Mr. Milam being next door but having no contact with you?
That's fine with me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Eric Milam, your bond is going to be set at $5,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. One of the reasons why it seems a rather high amount is because you have a vested interest in making sure that you comply with the conditions of the bond. If you break any of the conditions of the bond, you could be arrested again, and that $5,000 signature bond will convert to either a surety bond or a cash bond, which means it's more expensive if you violate any of the conditions of the bond or if you get arrested again. You are to have no further contact with Mr. Truitt, Seth Truitt. You can return to the adjoining property if you're lawfully living there, but I'm going to amend it so that you can return there. But if Mr. Truitt happens to step out of his adjoining unit, you are under an obligation to either go back into your apartment or keep moving away until you're at least 200 yards away from him. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You are not to communicate with him in person, not through a third party, not through a phone, a computer device, or even through social media. If he initiates contact with you, you are required to turn away or shut down that call or whatever. You are not to acknowledge any contact that he initiates with you. I cannot be any clearer than that. You report to pretrial once a month. You will attend and complete 12 anger management classes, which you will commence within 30 days of being released. So once you report to pretrial, you will need to let the pretrial know that you are enrolled in this particular school where you are taking 12 weekly anger management classes. These are not classes that are being ordered as part of a sentencing. These are conditions to your bond.
Understood. Thank you, Your Honor.
no illegal drugs, no alcohol. You'll be subject to screens, and you're not allowed to possess any weapons or firearms.
Understood.
Your next court date will be sent to you at your address and your unit number is 1401 or 1402?
I'm 1401, Your Honor.
1401. All right. Your attorney is Mr. Lynch, and that's it. Thank you. All right. Next,
Position 8, Oliver.
Ashley Oliver's case number is 23 CR 001059A, accused of battery from February 15th, 2023. Ms. Oliver, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
And 1994, all right?
You ready?
And this is, yes, go ahead, Mr. Howard.
7 arrests. She has violent history, but none of them were convictions. I didn't see any convictions in her history.
Okay, anyone, no, so no convictions, but arrests only.
Correct.
All right.
When it comes to violence, correct.
All right. And are those arrests felonies or misdemeanors?
One is a felony, couple of misdemeanors.
When was the felony arrest?
2017 ag assault. It was dismissed.
All right, thank you. Miss Allen?
Yes, Your Honor, 1 second. Thank you.
Or if you have anything else to add from her criminal record history that you don't believe Mr. Howard's addressed?
No, I think Mr. Howard addressed it. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different arrests. The last one in 2020 was for obstruction, a prior failure to appear in 2017, and the aggravated assault, which was eventually dismissed from 2017. This is an incident that occurred on February the 15th of this year at North Point Mall, 1000 North Point Circle in Alpharetta. The victim's name is Shanette Norwood. She is a beautician, Your Honor. Police responded to a fight call and spoke with Miss Norwood. She reported that she'd been struck in the head during an argument over a cell phone and that her wig had been pulled off by the defendant. There was visible redness to her head from where she had been stuck. These two individuals know each other, although not very well, because the victim, Mrs. Norwood, is a beautician and the defendant was her client. They had gone to the mall together, and the victim reported that she was assaulted by the defendant, and that following that incident, she's received hundreds of text messages threatening her, and that the defendant has shown up at her business looking for her and threatening her. So she's expressed fear, and she's also requested that the defendant be ordered to stay away from her place of business, which is how they know each other. The state is recommending a $3,000 surety bond with no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no further contact, as well as the stay away order from 292 South Atlanta Street, Suite E in Roswell. That's the location where these two people met at the place of business for the victim, Mrs. Norwood.
Okay. Is that Miss Norwood right there?
Yes.
All right. And ma'am, if you'd like to address this case, may I place you under oath?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a little confused. You both went to North Point Mall to go shopping?
Yes, correct. We both went to the mall together.
And do you both live together?
No, we don't live together.
And
I
do you
met
work?
her.
I'm so sorry. I'm just going to get some pertinent facts in there. Do you work together?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So go ahead and tell me what else you'd like to tell me.
I met her last year. We were friends, and I did her daughter hair and her hair. We were friends for maybe 3 months. I stopped talking to her because I noticed she had irate behavior. And that was last year around April. This year, around January, I have not heard from her ever since last year. She FaceTimed me from a different number because I had her blocked. and said, can you come visit me in the hospital? I miss you as a friend, and I'm sorry what happened. So I let her back into my life. I did her hair again. Well, the day of the fight, she came to pick me up from work, and she was acting irate behavior in the mall. Make a long story short, I asked her, could she help me find my cell phone? She said, my cell phone is in the bathroom. I said, well, if you knew my phone was in the bathroom, why didn't you tell me? Because I went in the bathroom and it was left in there.
Okay,
She
that's
told
a
me,
blow-by-blow account of what happened. I just need to know what kind of relationship y'all had. So it was just friends meeting and.
yes,
Yeah.
just a cordial relationship. That's it, just cordial. And she was a client. I did her and her daughter hair.
Okay, and the prosecutor indicated that she's been trying to reach you.
Yes, ma'am. So when we had the altercation, she attacked me. It was witnesses there. They had their phones out. That's why I didn't get any trouble. I did restrain her and pin her on the ground because she has a mental history. That's why she don't have her daughter. I also have her caseworker phone number and information because she is a dangerous person. She's very dangerous. She sent me lots of messages while she was in the ambulance, threatening me, saying she's going to have someone come up to my shop, talking about my children. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
2 days after that.
And where do you work?
I'm a salon owner, Shanette Braiding Studio out of Roswell, Georgia.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Came up.
No, that's all right. Thank you.
Okay.
Miss Kim?
Yes, first of all, I don't think that was polite to bring up all those derogatory terms. Anyway,
go ahead. Tell me what's your recommendation.
Yes, my recommendation is a signature on bond. Your Honor, this happened about a week ago, and my client was basically eating. She was mad that she lost her phone, and she was mad that my client did not help. Anyway, my client was attacked by her, and there was actually videotape. So the facts should be argued later. And about the bond facts, she is not employed currently, so she's qualified for public defender services, Your Honor. And she has been here in Georgia for more than 16 years, and she completed high school successfully. And she does have a disability. So because of her medical condition, she really needs to take care of her medical attention. She has to actually get surgery on her arm, and which Miss Norwood bent and hurt even more. My client needs to take medical attention. It's kind of serious medical situation. And we will continuously represent her, and she has one daughter. Her mother's gonna be hopefully helping her. But anyway, that's all. We would like to request for a signature on bond, and if Your Honor is not inclined to give her a signature on bond because of all those dismissed cases, we would like to request that $1,000 surety bond stay set instead of raising up to $3,000 like a solicitor request. Thank you.
$2,000 surety bond. No further contact with Miss Norwood, to stay away from her place of business, her residence, and also to stay away from her.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Can I please say something?
Yes, Miss Norwood.
Yes, I would like to say, just as the man just said, when you asked him, she has a criminal background. She's a dangerous woman.
Miss Norwood.
Miss Norwood.
Can you tell me anything else new?
Yeah, but the thing is, she used her
Miss
medical.
Norwood, that's enough. Thank you. I appreciate it. The judge is aware of the criminal history and the things that are relevant for this hearing today, and we can talk further after court, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. As I was saying, Miss Olivia, her bond is $2,000. It is a surety bond. Next court date is going to be March 9th. No further contact with Miss Norwood, to stay away from her immediate family, her place of business, her residence, You're not to contact her in person. You need to listen first. I'll let you speak. You're not to contact her in person, through a third party, through a phone, through a computer device, or even on social media. You cannot discuss her on any of these aspects. And you're not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or firearms. If you are undergoing any kind of treatment, you are to comply with your treatment as well as your medication. And if you make bond, you must make sure that you keep your address and your contact information current with the court at all times. All right. Now, Ms. Olivier, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say, your statements will not only be recorded, but used by our prosecutor who is present on this Zoom. And anything you say can be damaging to your case. So,
Please.
would you like to exercise your right to remain silent?
No, man, I want to talk.
Please call me and talk to me. I can.
It was about the court date, ma'am. It wasn't gonna work for me. I already have court for my baby father. I do have custody of my daughter. I am the primary custody of my daughter. So I have court on the day about him not paying child support. Shanette Norwood is a liar about me not having my child.
Okay.
Please.
March 9th at 9 a.m. in G33. And if you have a conflict with another court appearance, you let the other judge know that you have a criminal case and that you need to make an appearance. The March 9th date only applies if you are still in detention.
Oh, okay.
If you make bond, then you'll be sent a separate court date.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
And Miss Norwood, I
Yes,
do
ma'am.
understand your concerns. I don't mean to cut you off, but I get a little impatient when folks try to interrupt my ruling. Okay?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
But this is what I will impart to you, and I'm sure the prosecutor has imparted to you as well, hopefully, that if you want to have additional security, you can always go to the Superior Court and apply for a temporary protective order or restraining order. And I'm sure they'll help you navigate through the paperwork.
Okay, thank you so much.
You might want to mention all this as well. All right?
I will, yes.
Okay, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Position 10. Purser.
All right, Russell Purser, Miss Rockwell, did you still need to talk to him? I don't know if they put you in a little conversation.
No, I spoke with Miss Kim this morning.
Oh, I wasn't talking to you, Mr. Purser.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Miss Renee Rockwell, she's right there. You see her?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I get a breakout with him?
You probably have to call the jail and let me give you the number.
Okay.
404-612-2392.
Judge Law.
Yeah.
He's gonna have Mr. Purser call her.
Oh, okay. Miss
Okay.
Rockwell, go ahead and put your phone number in the chat to courtroom 2.
Okay.
But we can review any information.
All right. While Mr. Purser is talking to Miss Rockwell, then I can take the next case. By the way, am I done with all the cases at South Annex?
Mr. Holt, add-on 1.
Oh, okay. I know I have that one here. Okay. This is State versus Demetrius Holt, case number 23 CR 001-065C. Mr. Holt has been accused of criminal trespass and willful obstruction of an officer from an incident 2/23/2023. Mr. Holt, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard? Yes, if you can just basically summarize your pretrial report.
39 total. Last arrest was in October for shoplifting. He has an open burglary in DeKalb County, burglary 2nd degree. On probation for burglary, smash and grab, obstruction, giving false name. It's 22 SC 185-232. They gave him 3 years probation back in January for that. What else? On probation for 2 more counts of burglary in the second degree, 22 SC 185-236. That was January when it started. And he also on probation for another burglary and theft by taking.
All right, that's good. Thank you. Miss Allen, this is at the Dawn Day at Ponce de Leon. I have no idea what that is, but
It's a vacant home of a gentleman named Don Day.
oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant had been given a criminal trespass warning the day before. We have a copy of that. It's part of the record. And returned, following receiving the order, at the time of arrest, he fled on foot from police. You just heard his history. He'd not been authorized to be on the property. In fact, he'd received a document, and based on communication with the owner of the document, had been ordered not to return, and he didn't have the owner's consent to return.
And I do apologize. I really thought it was the name of a business, but Ms. Kim, what's your recommendation?
Actually, he claims that he is currently at sober live in America. He wants to continue his program. He does not want to lose his spot. So we would like to request for a signature on bond so he can return to his current program and be rehabilitated. I was actually going to recommend social workers visit there and to make sure that he goes to that place and get some BHET done. Your Honor, he has a mailing address and phone number. I was not able to actually verify with the Sober Live in America yet because I didn't have enough time. I was on hold for a long time, and they only have 877 number, and I could not get through the voicemail. So, however, that's what he claims, Your Honor. He does not have any employment. He had GED. We would like to, our office will continuously represent him because he's qualified for public defender services.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Holt, you do have a right to remain silent, and if you choose to waive your right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you, especially by the prosecutors who are present at this hearing. You've got your hand up. Would you like to remain silent or?
Well, I would like to speak.
Ms. Kim?
I strongly advise against it, Mr. Holt. If you have any question, please feel free to call me or I'll call you.
It's just concerning my program. I'm in a program. How I got locked up, I'm going to the store. I just want to say, I'm in sober living over Miracle, 2530 Peachwood Circle. I've been in the program. I left here, Fulton County Jail. The sheriff took me there January the 13th. I got went to court January 6th on the charges that he said I had for the felony, for the burglary and stuff. That's why I'm in the program. I went to court on January 6th and they sent me 3-year probation on the sober living on America. So the sheriff department took me there January the 13th. I've been there since January the 13th. I'm in the program. I was going to the store, but we have a right to go to the store or go different places, like Walmart, stuff like that. But I was going to the store, and it was somebody else in his home, and I knew them. And I stopped on the steps to talk to them on the way to the store. When I stopped on the steps to talk to them, the police arrived and pulled up. There were 2 other people that came out the back door and in the house, ran, and they didn't supposed to be there. I didn't know that, but they said they seen me come out the house, which was
who is the name of the person you know?
The person I know, it was one named Samantha.
Who?
A female named Samantha. They let her get away. They let her go. Samantha, it was her boyfriend. He was inside the house, and I told him that.
Okay.
And so, but the thing about it is, they said they told me I didn't want to go to the property, but I was on the step.
All right, Mr. Holt,
I was headed to the store. I'm in a program. That's all I want to say.
okay, I understand. I understand you're in the program.
I'm in a drug and alcohol program. And I don't want to get kicked out. Plus, it'll be $400 me to re-enter. Yes, ma'am. So I would like to, get back into my program. I've been doing good since January 13th. Of being clean and sober alcohol.
I understand, sir, but, and I'm good. I'm very, very glad to hear that. But I have a warrant right now that alleges that you trespassed at someone's vacant property.
Yeah, but it's a house. It's a house on Ponce de Leon. I was walking by, I was on the steps.
You have a right to remain silent.
All right, so, on the willful obstruction, it's going to be 500. On the criminal trespass, it's going to be 1,000. Your total bond is 1,500. It is a surety bond. Your next court date is March 9.
I can't make no bond.
You are to stay 200 yards away. I don't care who you know on the property or on the steps or on the sidewalk, on the parking lot, or in the front yard or the backyard. You are to stay 200 yards away from 112 Ponce de Leon Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 13 and 14, Smith.
That messed up, bro.
This is Justin Smith. He's got two separate accused cases, 23 CR 001-049H and 23 CR 001-051H.
It's 13, 14, and 15, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed out number 15. Okay, I do beg your pardon. And position, thank you, Mr. Howard. And position number 15, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, you have the third case, 23 CR 001-052H. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Kim. In the case ending in 1049H, you're accused of simple battery, domestic violence from August 30th, 2022. In position 14, case ending in 1051H, you are accused of simple battery, domestic violence, theft, and theft by taking from November 18, 2022. The third case ending with 1052H, you're accused of battery, domestic violence from July 26, 2022. Mrs. Any other matters? I can't remember on Mr. Smith.
Third arrest, 2017 robbery conviction out of Mississippi.
Can you tell me about his probation?
Yeah. Let's see. So in 2018, he was found guilty. November 26, 2018. They gave him 15 years, 10 years suspended, 5 years supervised probation. So that should end later on this year, based on the math. That probation should in November.
Okay. And is this in Georgia or in
Mississippi? I'm sorry, Mississippi. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Allen, what's your recommendation for all three cases? Oh, Prosecutor Allen, I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Yes, Your Honor. The recommendation that the state is making is a $7,000 surety bond, $3,000 for each count of battery and $1,000 for the theft, and to stay away from wherever the victim currently lives, as well as no further contact. My understanding is that he has a open felony aggravated assault charge against this victim, and I was just looking at that now.
You mean involving the same victim?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
One moment. The arrest that we're here on comprises three different incidences. When he was arrested for the aggravated assault against this same victim, and that is a 23 CP 216488.
216488, all right?
Yes, Your Honor. That is from November the 25th of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So contemporaneous to the last incident that we have here today. So ultimately, while you will hear about the facts of 3 different incidences, there's a 4th incident, and he was also arrested on that warrant, and it's an aggravated assault with a knife.
I've actually read the warrants, but if you want to just give me,
Yeah,
you've
briefly, I
given me a
will.
bond recommendation. If you want to tell me about the conditions the state's seeking about, that would help.
Yes, and we've been in conversation with the victim. She's unable to attend Zoom today, but as it pertains to bond arguments with specific reference to a domestic violence case, we also have intercepted, I guess is the right word, at least 8 phone calls to the victim since this defendant's arrest today, which include not just admissions, but pleas for her to attend court and to drop the charges against him. So for the purposes of bond arguments, Your Honor, we would argue that a risk of intimidation, a risk of reoffense is high in this case, given the nature and the lack of respect for the system, where an individual knows that they are not having actual privacy while they're in jail, warned by recordings on the jail telephone that they're being recorded, and they call the victim that they've just been arrested for 4 violent assaults against, and implore them to please drop the charges. And I'm here because of you. So the 3 incidences that are here in misdemeanor court or state court are from July 26th of 2022, August the 30th of 2022, and November the 18th of 2022. In July, police responded and met with the victim, Mrs. Godfrey. She said they'd been in a verbal dispute and that they lived together, that the dispute turned physical when she tried to leave the defendant and said she wanted to break up. He punched her in the face and left a laceration and swelling under her right eye. On August the 30th, so about a month later, again, police responded to the same location and spoke to Miss Godfrey. She said that the defendant, Mr. Smith, became upset because she was on the phone laughing. He punched her in the face several times, pulled her hair, and dragged her, bringing her to the floor. There were witnesses present when this incident occurred, and we have their information as well. And then later on November the 18th, 2022, the same location, police responded and spoke with Mrs. Godfrey, who said that there had been a physical altercation, that she and the defendant were now broken up, that he'd barged in to where she was in the bathroom and snatched her phone. He actually left with her cell phone, but fought her when she tried to get it back. He pushed her to the ground several times and he bit her on her cheek and then left with her cell phone. She reported a history of violence. She reported that she calls the police. That's why we've got multiple police reports. And there's a more violent, a felony level offense that was also addressed. And it looks like this gentleman has just basically been on the run since November of 2022. So we would absolutely ask for no further contact.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Smith is 25 years old, and he went to felony court this morning.
Yes, I've already seen the disposition there.
Yes, there's no bond, so he's not going anywhere, Your Honor. So there's no risk of fleeing or running away from the court date. He will be here, Your Honor. He has been working at Crystal as a cook for the last 10 months. He moved from Mississippi because of this job that he really enjoys right now. And he has education up to 8th grade. And after that, he could not continue any other education. Well, and right now he does not live with a complaining witness. He's residing with his brother and brother's wife at totally different locations. So my client has no objection to stay away or no further contact. We would like to request for a signature on bond, and yet if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond because of the current situation with the histories, we would like to request for maximum $1,000 good bond for each charge. Thank you. And I think his mother is here on the Zoom to support him.
Is that Miss Sonji?
Yes. Yes.
Miss Ms. Smith, if you want to contribute to this hearing, you would need to, okay? And may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do swear.
All right, this is your biological son,
It is.
right? And you understand that he's still on felony probation?
I do.
All right, and now he's got 4 open cases in Fulton County courts alone involving
Yes, ma'am.
violence. What would you like to tell me? I mean, I'm a little concerned about the situation.
You and I have the same concern. He was recently, well, not recently, when he was younger, medicated with Adderall. He hasn't been taking it for years, not saying that that's an excuse, but that does kind of explain a lot of things that he does need to be medicated for. His behavior. I also need to be seeing a therapist as well. We was doing that prior to the felony charge in 2018. However, when he gotten older, he realized he made the decision that he didn't want to take the meds. And so things have kind of just been spiraling out of control since he hasn't been going to therapy nor taking his meds.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Smith. If you could please mute your screen. I'm going to accept the state's recommendation under the current conditions. Mr. Smith, Justin Smith, I just also want to caution you that from this point onwards, if you engage in any phone calls to Jasmine Godfrey, or you try to reach Ms. Godfrey through the phone through a third party, all these phone calls are monitored. They are monitored. And if you make any more communications with Ms. Godfrey from this point onwards, or try to reach her through a third party, you could end up with additional felony charges against you and end up being in jail with no bond for a significant period of time. But I will accept the state's recommendation. On position 13 is a $3,000 bond. On position 14, it's a $3,000 bond on simple battery and $1,000 on theft by taking. And on position 15, it's a $3,000 bond. All these bonds are cash bonds only. They are not surety bonds. They are cash bonds only. You are to have no further contact with Jasmine Godfrey. You're not to contact her in person, not through a phone, not through a third party, not through a computer, and definitely not on social media. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons and no firearms. You're to stay 500 yards away from wherever Ms. Godfrey happens to be, whether it's a place of business, on the sidewalk, at a place, at a home, 500 yards away. Ms. Allen, as I understand it, he doesn't share children, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. His next court date for all 3 cases is going to be March 9th via Zoom at 9 a.m. Thank you.
You're done. Position 18, Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Deontay Wilson, accused of criminal trespass on August 14th, 2021. Mr. Wilson's case is 23 CR 001062C. Mr. Wilson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Mr. Wilson, go ahead, Mr.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
6 arrests, 2018 probation violation. In 2016, he was given 10 years probation for theft by taking. So he got 3 years left on that.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from, it looks like August of 2021. So a significant amount of time has passed since an arrest warrant was issued in this case, or sought and issued. Incident location is 1890 Myrtle Drive, Southwest apartment 115. It's a domestic incident. The defendant kicked in the back door of Mrs. Brown, the victim's apartment, used his shoulder to force the door off the hinges. They are ex-boyfriend and girlfriend. He had, as far as the victim reported at the time, come to the location to get his personal items. She was afraid to let him in because of past violence. He began using vulgar language towards her. She went outside to get her car, and that is when she watched him force his way into her back door by putting the door off the hinges. We would be asking for.
Is that address still relevant to the alleged victim? Do you know?
Let me make sure. We'd be asking for a $5,000 surety bond, no further contact, stay away from the incident location, and the typical requirements, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, but let me make sure.
While you're looking at that, Mr. Howard, does he have a probation hold? (15 SC 133980).
It was a theft by taking, Your Honor.
Okay, was that a probation hold in that case?
Yes, probation violation.
Okay,
Did not show up on 2019 one meeting.
all right.
And Your Honor, it looks like we reached out to the victim in this case, but we have not heard back. We weren't able to make contact.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Mr. Wilson is 28 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia. He's currently unemployed, and he completed up to 10th grade, and he could not complete GED, even though that was something that he was supposed to do. Anyway, he has not been having any contact with Miss Brown whatsoever, Your Honor. They don't live together. There's no contact for the last 2 years, almost 2 years. So we would like to request for a signature on bond for this particular one, criminal trespass that has been really, really old. And Your Honor, we're okay with the stairway and no further contact. Thank you.
All right. Bond is set at $1,000 surety bond. No further contact with Renisha Brown to stay away from 1890 Myrtle Drive, Atlanta, Georgia. And I don't have a date for his probation revocation hearing. It looks like some further notice. So we will see him on March 9th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Position 10, Purser.
Ms. Rockwell, are you representing Mr. Purser, or will that be Ms. Kim?
Yes, it will be me, Your Honor.
Okay. So this is 23 CR 001.
I apologize, Your Honor. It's Rockwell.
That'll be my case, Judge.
All right. This will be 23 CR 001-055E, State versus Russell Purser, accused of criminal trespass from February 23rd of this year. Mr. Purser, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Rockwell. Mr. Howard, I believe that, okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and tell me about this priors.
Second arrest, last was 1999 DUI, disorderly conduct.
Okay.
So that's all.
Ms. Allen, what is your recommendation?
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's see. The recommendation is $1,000 surety bond. Stay away from the location and the no alcohol, drugs, or weapons requirement, the general requirement. This was an incident within the last 24 hours. So February the 23rd at 820 City Marcus Boulevard. That's the Town Place Suites or Marriott, I believe. Police responded to a criminal trespass call. They met with the GM there, Mrs. Montgomery, who reported that he refused to pay his balance of $280 and was refusing to leave the premises. She said that she was fine with not receiving the balance as long as he left, and he refused. That's the information that I have.
Okay.
He was asked to pack his things actually by police and still refused.
Okay. Ms. Rockwell, the bond's gonna be set at 2,000. It's gonna be a signature bond through the jail, and he's to stay away from the Marriott Town Place. What's it called? Town Place Suites, Marriott.
Judge, could we get a police escort, one-time escort?
I'm
get
gonna let him do that. Yes. It's the 820 Sydney Marcus Boulevard, and Mr. Purser, you have to stay 200 yards away from that location. You can't be in the building, on the parking lot, sidewalks, anywhere near its business property. You can return one time only with a police officer escort to enter the premises to retrieve your belongings. It will be up to the hotel management as to how far you get in the building. They may have retrieved your possessions and have it in a separate location for collection. And if that's the situation, then that's as far as you get.
I understand, Judge.
Yeah.
One other thing, Madam Prosecutor, please give me the first name of Miss Montgomery, please, just so for my records. Unless you can.
Ebony, excuse me.
Okay.
Like the song, Miss Rockwell.
Good. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Could Madam Prosecutor please, and thank you in advance, send me a copy of the warrants if possible?
Absolutely.
And could I have that CP number or CR number or?
23 CR 001055E.
Thank you so much. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. Rockwell, thank you very much. See you
All
later.
right.
Next case, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Position 16, Trammell.
This is 1-6. Okay. Is this Ryan Trammell?
Yes, it is, Judge.
All right. I had a note that he was released. I guess he's still with us. All
Number
right.
17, Judge.
Oh, that was 17 is released?
Yes,
Okay.
further.
All right. Ryan Trammell is accused of battery, domestic violence from October 31st, 2022. Accusation number 23 CR 001061A. Mr. Trammell, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and presently your attorney is Ms. J. Kim. And Mr. Trammell, this is his first arrest. Ms. Allen, what's the state's recommendation?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are recommending a $3,000 surety bond, stay away from the victim and the incident location, no further contact, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. This is an incident from October, so this is a warrant that was sought and obtained a while back. The victim in this case is Joshua Long. Police responded to a domestic incident at 1801 Howell Mill Road, where they met with the victim, who said he'd been in an altercation with his ex-partner. He reported that the defendant grabbed him by his clothing and pulled him around, told him to take his clothing off because the defendant had purchased these items. The victim tried to leave the apartment, and as he did, he reported that the defendant hit him in the nose and it caused him to have a nosebleed. He looks like we intercepted a phone call to this victim from the jail yesterday. The victim reports they're no longer in a relationship. They no longer live together. The incident location is the defendant's residence, so it is just to stay away from the victim. And he reported that he is in fear. He does not want contact.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Trammell is 43 years old and he denies the allegation. He was not the first aggressor. He also called the police and filed a police report against him. And apparently he's not arrested, and it's only my client who got arrested. I guess totally different police officers, and one processed faster than the other, Your Honor. My client has been working as an Uber driver for the last 4 months. Before that, he was a body shop manager. So my representation will end at the end of the bond hearing, since he's not going to be qualified for public defender services. They don't live together. They have not had any contact ever since October 31st. Totally fine with those further contact. Stay away. Mr. Trammell has been here for 12 years, and we would like to request for signature on bond. And yet, if your honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for $1,000. This is his first ever being arrested, your honor. Here, there's no history, and my client was a victim. Thank you.
Yep, sorry, Ms. Kim, did you say something else?
I just wanted to tell Mr. Trammell, unless this is directly related to bond, please give me a call, or I'll give you a call. You have a right to remain silent, please.
I would like to speak, please.
I really strongly recommend against it because you don't want to hurt your case.
Okay, I just want to say that I did not call the victim. There's been no phone call to them, so I'm not sure where that's coming from while I was here at the facility.
All right. Well, at least you're on notice that you are not allowed to call the victim, whether it's from the jail or whether once you're released or wherever. Okay, so Mr. Trammell, your bond is going to be set at $3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You can be released on a signature bond, but you will have to comply with the following conditions, which includes, and is the 14th Street still your correct address?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and Mr. Long does not live there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so no further contact with Joshua Long, which means staying 200 yards away from him. Do not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner, including in person, through a third party, like you noted, through a phone, through a computer device, or even on social media. If he initiates contact with you, you are required by law to disregard that contact and move away. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Your next court date will be sent to you at the 14th Street address. If you change your contact information, make sure you inform us immediately in writing. While you are on while you're on pretrial bond, you will report to pretrial once a month. You will attend and complete the one-day anger awareness program. And you really can't afford to get arrested again, because if you are, then your signature bond will be revoked.
Okay.
All right. You will also need to retain your own attorney. You do not qualify for the services of the Public Defender's Office.
Okay.
All right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge Law, I have a quick announcement for Mr. Demario Franklin. He
Yeah.
did not appear on the calendar, but he did interview with Miss Kim. He was supposed to be on the full sheet.
Does he have a CR number?
No, Judge, he doesn't have one. I was called from this is Ms. Lewis. I got a call from the jail indicating that he was on the felony first appearance full sheet and not on our sheet. I did send the information over to the ASG, and I have not heard nothing back from them.
I've reviewed the case, and I'm ready to talk about the case if we want to. Mr. Franklin was arrested as a co-defendant with Mr. D'Angelo McGuire, who was arrested as with a felony, and so it's our position he should go.
May I have a jailing number? Anyone?
Mm-hmm. Let's see, booking number is 230-2992. Mr. Franklin was arrested for fleeing. We don't have a police report. We have warrants that say he was going 60 miles an hour and seen bailing from a car with a co-defendant. Mr. Franklin was the driver. They both were seen throwing items as they fled on foot from the police. Police recovered a handgun.
I really can't begin until I really find out whether I even have jurisdiction right now. So Ms. Allen, please, real fast. Okay, first tell me, does he have an open felony case along with the alleged co-defendant?
No, Mr. Franklin was arrested with a misdemeanor fleeing.
Okay.
All I have is a warrant that says he was going 60 miles an hour. So it could be a felony fleeing. I have reckless driving, fleeing and attempting, making improper U-turn, and willful Obstruction.
obstruction.
Mhm.
All right, and these are 1, 2, 3, 4 warrants.
Yes.
I don't know why the warrants have the same numbers if there are. If it are two separate cases.
They're two co-defendants. Perhaps that's part of it. He was arrested with the passenger of the vehicle, who, when police picked up the items that were thrown by these gentlemen, the passenger claimed the gun. It was a stolen gun, and that is a felony.
Okay.
So he is now in felony court. I would argue Mr. Franklin should be there since they are co-defendants. But I don't also have a police report. I don't have a lot to review other than the warrants.
So what is the prejudice if I reset him to tomorrow at 2 o'clock?
Nothing, and I'll be there tomorrow. And that was the response I sent in an email previously about this
Y'all
case.
haven't
More than
even-
happy to address it. I'll be here again tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a police report by then. But it's our position that Mr. Franklin should go to Superior Court with his co-defendant.
All right. Ms. Kim, do you have any objection to me resetting the case to the C calendar tomorrow so the state can decide whether they want to file an accusation or whether the DA will take his case?
Sure. I have.
And when was he booked in?
Looks like the 23rd.
So hopefully it won't be a Riverside issue. Jailing history.
Look.
Yeah. Booked in 2/24. He's been in custody for 1 day. He's got warrants, so we're good.
Yep.
Okay.
He also has a active probation violation for aggravated assault SC case.
All right. Mr. Demario Franklin, first of all, yes, unfortunately, you do have warrants with regards to this particular incident. Your case has not been formally accused. The question is whether it stays with the state court of Fulton County or whether it goes to Superior Court where apparently there is a co-defendant case. Are you following me so far?
So far, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I want to remind you that you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you say about the facts of your case to anyone but your lawyer, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney if you cannot afford one. An attorney from the public defender's office will represent you tomorrow, either in front of this court again or in front of Superior Court. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So between now and then, don't talk to anyone about your case until you've had a chance to speak to an attorney.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Francois, given the nature of this case, we're going to reset it to the C calendar tomorrow. It may not end up on the C calendar tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
Guys, I'm showing that his court date, I'm saying he was booked in on the 24th, not the 23rd.
Right, come on, all right.
Next case, Judge, is position 11, Scott.
Okay. That's okay, Miss Lewis, as long as it's not Riverside by tomorrow. That was my biggest concern.
Okay.
All right. So repeat that number again, Francois.
Position 11, Scott.
Okay. We have Mr. John Scott accused of criminal trespass and loitering and prowling from February 23rd, 2023. Looks like there's a co-defendant in this matter. Who's the co-defendant?
My information says Torrance Payton and John Lee Scott are co-defendants.
Do you have a Peyton in the courtroom, Francois?
Yes, he's actually going next.
Actually, that's the one that I request for breakout room, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, so let's go with Mr. Scott right now. Miss Lynch, is that, Mr. Lynch, is that your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Scott has been advised of his right to remain silent, and his attorney is Mr. Owen Lynch. He's Mr. Howard, what's his priors, please?
Scott, 8th arrest, 2022 failure to appear, 2019 possession of a firearm by convicted felon, possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission, sale of marijuana. That was an arrest only. He's on probation for robbery. In 2009, they gave him 7 years to serve and then 8 years probation. So that should time out in 2024.
Okay, thank you. Miss Allen? I'm sorry, on mute, Miss Allen, sorry.
Working on it. Thank you. Okay. So the recommendation for bond in this case, Your Honor, is $1,000 on each count, a total of $2,000 surety bond. Stay away from the location and no alcohol, drugs or weapons, excuse me. This is an incident from the 23rd of February at 1155 La Vista Road. That's an apartment complex called the Reserve at La Vista. Police responded to a prowler call, and on the scene, they spoke with the leasing manager, Jessica Hutarte. They reviewed footage and spoke with a on-campus resource officer who reported that they had witnessed on security footage the defendant, Mr. Scott, on camera tampering with a doorknob and then opening and entering into an apartment that is a vacant apartment. And it was confirmed by the leasing manager that Mr. Scott was not a resident. Once they spoke to Mr. Scott, and he admitted that he had been in the location and wasn't a resident. He said that there were more people at the location. Police responded to that location where they found Torrance Payton inside. And that's how these two people are related.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Your Honor, my client's 33 years old. He is from Detroit, but he's been in Atlanta for the past 12 years. He does work at the Rise Bakery in Tucker, Georgia. He does have 2 minor children and a child on the way with his current fiance. In addition to working, he does help out with his mother who has some health issues. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond in this case for those reasons, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. On the criminal trespass, that's going to be a 500 surety. On the loitering and prowling, that's going to be a 500 signature bond through the jail. To total bonds, $1,000 split bond. To stay 200 yards away from the entire complex at Reserve at La Vista Walk, 1155 La Vista Road, Atlanta, Georgia. His next court date is March 9th. If he does make a bail, a bond, he is to update the court with any changes in his address, phone number, and email. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you.
Position 9, Peyton.
You wanted a breakout, Ms. Kim? Ms. Kim?
You want me to give you the history before you go?
I have it. That's good.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, this is State versus Torrance Payton, case number 23 CR 001-057F, accused of criminal trespass and loitering and prowling, just based on the same allegations brought against Mr. Scott, John Lee Scott. So, Mr. Payton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim has requested that we address your matter as a sidebar. So, Ms. Lewis, if you would like to put Ms. Allen, Ms. Kim, and myself into a breakout, please.
Your Honor,
All right, and understand that, Miss Allen, you are Mr. Payton's mother, Miss Tamara Allen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, based on the information provided by both the attorneys and my sidebar, Mr. Payton does have an open felony matter that may still be holding him at the jail, and that's 22 CP 209023. So that's one issue that Mr. Payton would have to address. In this particular case, his bond is going to be $1,000 on each count. It's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Miss Tamara Allen, you will have to come down and co-sign the bond.
Okay, am I the only person that can come and co-sign the bond? Because I'm in another
He's
state.
going to be released to your custody.
Okay,
Considering that he has a felony matter holding him as well, so. Just 1 second. Twenty-two CP 209023. As I was saying, you would need to co-sign your bond and he will be released to your custody. He would need to stay away from the entire apartment complex at 1155 La Vista Road in Atlanta, Georgia. The complex is called Reserve at La Vista Walk. And he needs to also comply with any treatment that he's undergoing and comply with all medication as well. We've got all right, so presently in the other open case, he's got a 1,250 surety bond.
okay. Is that the felony or that's something different?
That's the felony case. That's the, yeah.
That's the one that he's on probation with? That's what you're saying for as a felony matter?
No, this is a brand new, that's not a probation case. It's I guess he made bond, but I don't know whether he made bond. Oh, he did make bond. No, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, he did make bond in that case. So, no, so he's good. He's good. He can be released on the signature bond through the jail then. All right. He's got one open felony case and then this case as well. So that's why I need you to co-sign the bond. I need him to be released to your custody. You need to make sure that he complies with all medication and treatment, that he stays away from that entire apartment complex. And I understand that he's going to be moving back to Mississippi with you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So when you come down to co-sign the bond, you would need to make sure that you bring your I'm so sorry, that's not going to be through the jail. That's going to be through pretrial per judge. You're going to make sure that you bring your current driver's license or any kind of government issue ID. And wherever you happen to be living, do you live in an apartment or home?
I live in a home.
Okay. Your address on your government issue ID must match the address where you live, and you need to bring a utility bill.
Okay. All right. So when I come with the felony, will I be able to get information on that?
Yeah, sure. Just write down this case number.
Okay.
22 C as in cat, P as in Peter, 209023.
Okay.
He was seen by a judge back on May 13th, 2022.
Okay.
And it looks like he made bond.
Okay.
So that's one open case, and then there's this new one.
Okay.
What was that bond amount?
2,000 signature bond through pretrial. And Mr. Howard, this will be telephonic reporting. So, Miss Allen, you need to make sure that your son reports to pretrial once a month via telephone if he's moving back to Mississippi.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Is that 2,000 on each charge or 1,000?
1,000 on each count, so it's 2,000 signature bonds with pretrial telephonic reporting. So,
Position 4, science.
position 4. This
Your
is,
Honor,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Is it like a certain time? Can I come over during the weekend, or does it have to be Monday through Friday?
the longer you wait, the longer he's going to stay in jail.
Okay. That's why I was asking to see if I can leave like now.
It's 24 hours, ma'am.
Okay,
Well, no. She co-signed. You got till like 11 o'clock to do that.
Okay, the cosign.
I'll put the address in the chat.
all right.
Who's next?
Mr. Sias.
Science.
Mr. Nathan Sias is 23 CR 001-050Y. Accused of criminal trespass from February 23rd, 2023. Mr. Sias, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Gant.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, sir.
2010, 2014 failure to appear. 2014 battery, criminal mischief. Charges were dropped. That's out of Florida. 2022 resisting officer conviction. Unlicensed carrying concealed weapon and resisting an officer. Those from this year as well. That's open. Appears to be open in Florida. That's it.
That's new, Mr. Howard. You started with the oldest ones and worked your way to the most recent one now.
That did. I'm sorry.
Okay, you threw me off there. All right, thank you. Ms. Allen, what's the recommendation?
We're recommending a $1,500 surety bond to stay away from the location, which is a Greyhound bus terminal. And no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. This is an incident that was at 232 Forsyth Street Southwest, on February the 23rd. It's criminal trespass. He remained at the Greyhound bus terminal after being told to leave by security. He returned to the property. So he left and returned and refused to leave again.
Okay. Ms. Gant?
Yes, Your Honor. Nathan Sias is 32 years old. He states that he, excuse me, he denies the allegations. He states that he was at that location assisting his sister who needed some assistance with purchasing a ticket. Mr. Sias has a 13-year-old son. He graduated high school. He has some college credits. He studied medical assisting. At this time, Your Honor, he is unemployed. He informs me that he was on his way to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to start 2 new jobs at Whataburger and Olive Garden. Again, he strongly denies the allegations. I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Sias's behalf. I do acknowledge his history. However, Your Honor, this is a non-violent offense. He does not appear to have a history of multiple instances of criminal trespass, and he definitely doesn't have the means to pay any bond. We are unopposed to the stay away as well. Thank you.
All right. Bond is going to be set at $1,000 surety bond. Stay away from 232 Forsyth Street. Unless he's got an actual ticket in which he's traveling that same day that he's there.
He states that he does have a ticket, Your Honor.
He does?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm looking at the warrant. And what's the day of travel?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
What's the day of travel for that ticket?
Mr. Sias, may you tell me the date of that travel and just answer only that question.
The day of the travel was specifically at 5:05 p.m.
Speak up so they can.
The date of the travel was actually specifically at the same date of that arrest. And it was actually specifically
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sias. I believe he's stating the date of arrest, which is February 23rd.
Okay. So once he bonds out, if he's gets another day of travel, he can be at the station on that specific date. as long as he's got the ticket in his hand. If he doesn't have the ticket, he'll be arrested again and brought back to jail. Thank you.
Position 3, Brooks.
Yes, Mr. Sires, you have a right to remain silent. If you say anything about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you.
I don't want you to make any statements, Mr. Sires. I'm happy to give you a call at the jail.
Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 3, Brooks.
This is State versus Nicholas Brooks, accused of willful obstruction of an officer, failure to use the sidewalk, and reckless conduct. February 23rd, 2023. Mr. Brooks, born in 2001. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Gant. And I believe this is his second arrest.
Correct. Last arrest was 2020, ag assault, terrorist threats. The terrorist threats they declined to prosecute. The ag assault is open, 22 SC 180770.
Okay. Miss Allen, what do you recommend for this particular? I've read the warrant. I know a firearm was allegedly involved. What else would you like to tell me?
The state in a case like this recommends a $20,000 surety bond. Just the facts alone present a danger to the community. So while walking in the middle of the road is certainly not an egregious crime at this point, he is carrying a firearm in his hand and observed by police to be carrying a firearm in his hand. When police approached him and he noticed their presence, he began fleeing from them on foot. He threw the handgun over a fence and then jumped over the fence and picked that handgun up and kept running. He was later apprehended and the handgun was found under a vehicle near him. You just heard that he has an open case, an aggravated assault, which he is on bond for. A general condition of bond for a felony level case like that includes having no weapons, just like in our cases. And so for that reason, we believe that this gentleman presents a risk to the public. Walking down the middle of the road, just holding a firearm is not behavior that I think any of us would be engaged in. And so we're asking for a $20,000 surety bond.
All right. Ms. Gant?
Yes, Your Honor. Nicholas Brooks is 21 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area his entire life. He does have family here. Mr. Brooks completed high school. He is currently employed at Marco's Pizza. He's working there as a delivery driver. These are allegations. My client is presumed innocent. Your Honor, he does not have any prior significant history, hasn't been convicted of any offenses. We are requesting a signature bond. If Your Honor determines that he's ineligible, then I would ask for signatures or split bond, Your Honor. Splits for the willful obstruction, pedestrian walking, signature bonds, and for the reckless conduct, no more than $1,000. Thank you.
On the willful obstruction is going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. The pedestrian violation is going to be a $500 signature bond through the jail. The reckless conduct is going to be a $3,500 surety bond. Total bond is $5,000. It is a split bond. Next court date is March 9th. Conditions to the bond is no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and definitely no firearms and no weapons. You have an open felony case, and you're not allowed to be in possession of any firearms, especially according to the bond. By the way, his next hearing in front of Judge Cox in the felony case is March 23rd in courtroom 7F. Thank you.
Position 1, Agno.
Mr. Dontario Agnew is accused of willful obstruction of an officer from February 23rd, 2023, case number 23 CR 001047C. Mr. Agnew, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Gant. Mr. Tucson, can you confirm the fugitive warrant without sounding out the charge? Mr. Howard?
I mean, that's what they had on the thing. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, he got a warrant. It's on the booking.
All right. Ms. Allen, I've read the warrant. Any objection to a signature bond through the jail and the release to the fugitive warrant?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Gant, your client will receive a $2,000 signature bond through the jail with a release to only the authorities in accordance with the fugitive warrant. And you need information on that warrant. It's from Shelby County.
I think I'll come in tomorrow.
Mr. Agnew, please remain silent.
Yeah, it's Shelby County. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
For position 2, it's gonna be a reset to the competency.
Actually, I requested a breakout for this case.
Okay, on position 2, Brett.
We're completed here in courtroom 2, Judge.
All right, Mr. Braggs is not in the courtroom. Were you good? What?
No, position 2 is a reset.
Oh, it's a reset to when? Tomorrow's calendar?
I was told he's gonna be a reset to the competency.
All right.
And Your Honor, I do have the order for the court's consideration.
All right, we'll reset it to the March 9th competency calendar, and I will await your order on this. Will be what is the current bond on this charge, Miss Allen? That's good, Francois. Then we will just go over the calendar and we're done with courtroom 2. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You'll be here tomorrow, Judge? No? Okay.
Monday. See you later. Take care.
All right, thank you.
You don't have a bond for this charge.
All right. Any objection to a $1,500 surety bond?
No
No, Your
objections, Your Honor.
No.
No, Your Honor.
All right. And stay away from the incident location. All right, let me just go over the calendar. Position number 1, Agnew, was a $2,000 signature bond through the jail with a release to the fugitive hold. Position 2 is a $1,500 surety bond, reset to the March 9th competency calendar, pending an evaluation order to be filed. Position 3 is a $5,000 split bond, reset date March 9th. Ms. Gant, do you have his felony matter case number?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Position 4, Sias, is a $1,000 surety bond, reset March 9th. 5, Hackett, is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 6, Mabry, is a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 7, Milam, is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Position 8, Olivier, is a $2,000 surety bond, reset March 9th. Position 9, Peyton, is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, telephonic reporting, parent co-signer, and released to the custody of only his mom. I can't remember her name, I'm sorry, from Mississippi.
Mrs. Allen, Felicia.
Tamara Allen.
No,
Yeah.
Tamara Allen.
Yeah, okay. Position 10 purser is a signature bond through the jail for the notice. $2,000 signature bond through the jail. John Scott is a $1,000 split bond. Reset March 9th. Position 12 is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 13 Smith is a $3,000 cash bond. 14 is a $4,000 cash bond. 15 is a $3,000 cash bond. Reset date March 9th. Position 16, Trammell is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 17, Virgil was released. 18, Wilson is a $1,000 surety bond for the notice to March 9th. And 19, Wilson's a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. Yeah, and that's also for the notice. She needs to update us with her address.
And the add-on 1,500 good?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, the add-on, Holt is a 1,500 surety bond for the notice to March 9. All right, folks, I think that completes our calendar.
Thank you,
And
Your Honor.
we have no resets from this calendar, so that's good to know. And y'all have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Take
You
care.
too.
Bye-bye.
Thank y'all.
You say you here Monday?